Where legends breathe again. Eld myth. There are stories that were never meant for the light. Narratives carved not on temple walls, but whispered in the dark corridors between approved texts. Tales of rebellion, of stolen wisdom, and of creators who may not be what they seem. This is a chronicle of the forbidden, the myths that orthodoxy tried to erase, the texts deemed too dangerous for common faith, the original versions hidden beneath layers of dogma and fear. Across cultures, a pattern emerges. The most profound truths are often wrapped in the guise of the heretical. What unites these forbidden threads is a profound and unsettling theme: the violent, chaotic transformation that comes from seeking knowledge you were commanded to ignore. It is the story of the first who said no, of angels who fell for love of humanity, and of a universe where the true God may be hidden behind a jealous, lesser craftsman. These are not simple fables. They are maps of cosmic treason, blueprints of insurrection against a divinely ordained order. They speak to an ancient, buried fear, that the foundation of reality itself is built upon a lie, and that to uncover it is to risk everything. To read them is to step into a long-sealed vault, to feel the chill of air untouched for millennia, and to hear the echoes of voices that were silenced. We begin in the shadows of the Apocrypha, where the first mother was rewritten into a demon, and the original sin was not disobedience, but equality. The Genesis we know is a story of order. Light from darkness, land from sea, Adam from dust, Eve from rib. A clean, hierarchical creation. But breathe in the dust of older manuscripts and a different Genesis stirs. In the silent spaces between the lines of the alphabet of Ben Sira, in the murmured warnings of the Zohar, her name lingers like a scent of myrrh and desert wind: Lilith. Her origin is one of terrifying parody. She was not born from man, but fashioned from the same earth at the same time. Equal to him in every way, the texts insist. Imagine that first moment in the unnamed garden, not a paradise of subservience, but a charged silence between two sovereign beings. The conflict was inevitable, born from this primal equality. The tradition states it plainly. She refused to lie beneath him. This was not a quarrel of posture, but of cosmic principle. She uttered the ineffable name of God, a power she possessed as his equal, and fled the garden, leaving the sanctioned story behind. Her new domain was the howling wilderness east of Eden, the coasts of the Red Sea, a landscape of sharp rocks and whispering demons. Here, the myth transforms from one of rebellion to one of terrifying fertility. She becomes the mother of countless Lilim demonic children, consorting with the fallen angel Samael. She is the night hag, the stealer of infants, the visitor in men's dreams. But see the fear behind the demonization. A being of uncompromising autonomy, whose very existence disproves the necessity of a derived, subordinate creation. She is the chaos that the ordered narrative could not contain. The ritual protections against her, amulets with the names of three angels, binds placed on newborn boys, reveal a deep cultural terror. They are not just against a child killer, but against the return of the suppressed original. The first wife, the one who knew the secret names and was not ashamed. In every whispered incantation to ward her off, there is a tacit admission: she was here first. Her story is the original forbidden draft of creation, where the first sin was not eating fruit, but demanding a voice. Her legacy is the cold edge of the night wind, a reminder that the first rebellion was not in the stomach, but in the soul. If Lilith's tale is a rebellion on earth, the Book of Enoch is a rebellion that cracks the vault of heaven itself. This is not a gentle scripture. It is a cosmological thriller, a vision of realms beyond mortal sight, given to Enoch, the man who walked with God and was not. Cast your mind to a world before the flood, a time of giants and portents. Enoch, a righteous scribe, is taken by angels on a journey through the terrifying architecture of the cosmos. He is shown the foundations of the mountains, the prison of the winds, the very storehouses of the stars. But the heart of his vision, the forbidden core, is the descent of the Watchers. 200 of these celestial beings, burning sons of God, look upon the daughters of men and are consumed by desire. They swear a pact, descend to Mount Hermon, and take human wives. This is the transgression, the violation of the boundary between the divine and the mortal, the immortal and the dying. Their union is not just taboo. It is alchemical, producing the Nephilim, giants who thirst for blood and consume the works of humanity. But the sin is twofold. The Watcher Azazel does not just take a wife, he becomes a Prometheus of the damned. He teaches humanity the secrets of heaven, metallurgy to forge swords, the art of cosmetics to incite lust, astronomy, and divination. He gives them knowledge, the tools of power and corruption. This is the true forbidden fruit, delivered not by a serpent but by fallen angels. The heavenly council's response is a cataclysm of fear. The deluge is sent not merely to punish man, but to erase the evidence of this celestial treason, to wipe clean the hybrid offspring and the spilled secrets. Enoch acts as a sorrowful intermediary, delivering God's judgment to the imprisoned watchers. The imagery is profound. These radiant beings, now bound in darkness beneath the desert, awaiting a final fire. The book was revered by early Jewish and Christian thinkers, yet it was cast out of the canon. Why? Because it presents a messy, complex, and morally ambiguous universe. It suggests that evil entered the world not through human weakness alone, but through a catastrophic failure of the divine hierarchy itself. It makes angels the authors of human suffering and technological advancement. To read Enoch is to stare into the abyss of a corrupted heaven, and to understand that the flood was as much a cover-up as a punishment. The Watcher's crime in Enoch is given terrible specific detail in other fragments. This is the myth of stolen knowledge, the forbidden curriculum that uplifted and doomed humanity in the same breath. Picture the world before, humanity living in innocent, perhaps ignorant, harmony with nature. Then the descent. The angels do not merely fall, they bring with them a burning library. Azazel teaches the forging of bronze and iron, the making of swords, knives, shields, and breastplates. The sound of the first hammer on anvil is not progress, it is the death knell of the Golden Age. Shemiaza instructs in root cutting, the hidden properties of plants, a primal pharmacology. Others reveal the secrets of astrology, the reading of portents in the stars, breaking the monopoly of heavenly knowledge. They teach the art of writing, of making ink and parchment, so that these secrets may be recorded and perpetuated. Most damningly, they teach the eternal mysteries, the very workings of the cosmos. This is the profound duality of the myth. The gods, or God, view this as the ultimate betrayal. The knowledge is theirs, a divine prerogative. Humanity, in receiving it, becomes as gods, but flawed, dangerous gods. The gifts are tainted at the source because they come from rebels. Thus, every sword that protects also murders. Every cosmetic that beautifies also incites envy. Every astrological prediction offers power but breeds fatalism. Knowledge itself becomes a curse, a permanent exile from simple, guided existence. The aftermath is a world poisoned by wisdom. The Nephilim, born of this union, turn the tools of knowledge into instruments of pure consumption. The land is filled with violence. The myth asks a terrifying question: is our civilization, our science, our art, our technology, built on a foundation of divine contraband? Are we the children of a cosmic crime scene? The flood is the desperate, scorched earth policy of a creator to sanitize a contaminated experiment. Yet the knowledge, like a resilient virus, survives. It is passed in whispers, in hidden texts, in the very structure of human ingenuity. We are forever the species that knows too much, bearing the guilt of a gift we never asked for, from teachers who were damned for giving it. Now we descend into the most profound and unsettling heresy of all, the myth that the Creator God we know is not the ultimate God. This is the secret heart of certain Gnostic texts, a revelation that turns cosmos into prison. Enter the figure of the demiurge Yaldabaoth, Samuel, the blind god. The setting is not earth or heaven as we imagine them, but the pleroma, the realm of true, unfathomable divinity, a world of emanations and eons. From a fault in this perfection, a being is born in ignorance and arrogance, the demiurge. He is craftsman and artificer, but he is alone. He believes he is the only, the supreme. In his loneliness and pride, he speaks the words of Genesis, "I am a jealous God. There is no other beside me." But this declaration is a lie born of profound ignorance. He then sets to work, fashioning the material universe. But this creation is not an act of loving benevolence. It is the work of a flawed artisan, a mimicry of the true patterns of the pleroma he cannot comprehend. The physical world, with its suffering, decay, entropy, and death, is his masterpiece. He molds Adam from clay, a sluggish, ignorant form, but a spark of the true, divine light. The pneuma somehow exists within humanity, a remnant of the higher realm trapped in this material cage. The demiurge and his archons, the ruling powers, are the rulers of this world. They are not evil in a simplistic sense. They are ignorant, jealous jailers. They create the cycle of birth, suffering, and death to keep the divine spark trapped and forgetful. The law of the Old Testament, in this view, is not a path to salvation, but a series of intricate bars on the prison cell, given by the jailer to keep order among the inmates. The emotional core of this myth is a universe-shattering loneliness and betrayal. To realize this truth is to look at the sky, at the laws of nature, at your own body, and see not the hand of a father, but the work of a misguided, often cruel technician. The true God is utterly transcendent, unreachable, alien. Salvation, therefore, is not through worship of the Creator, but through gnosis, secret knowledge of your own divine spark and its alien origin. It is an awakening to the fact that you are a stranger in a world made by a stranger, and your home is a light-years distant realm of which this universe is a pale, distorted shadow. The fear it induces is not of punishment, but of eternal, ignorant confinement. The vessel for the demiurge myth, and others even more startling, was a library hidden for 16 centuries, not in a desert cave but beneath the sands of Nag Hammadi, Egypt. In 1945, a clay jar was broken open, and with it, the seal on a lost worldview. The Gnostic Gospels, the Gospel of Thomas, the Apocryphon of John, the Gospel of Judas, were not gentle additions to the New Testament. They were theological detonations. These texts present a Jesus unrecognizable to the orthodoxy that would later form. Here, he is not merely a sacrificial lamb but a revealer of forbidden gnosis. He speaks in riddles and revelations, not to the masses but to a select few in private. In the Apocryphon of John, he describes the entire, terrifying hierarchy of the eons and the blind folly of the demiurge in stark detail. In the Gospel of Thomas, he says, "If you bring forth what is within you, what you bring forth will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you." This is the gospel of the inner spark, not the external savior. But the most controversial is the Gospel of Judas. Here, Judas Iscariot is not the villain of the story, but its tragic, pivotal initiate. Jesus takes him aside and reveals the secrets of the cosmos. He tells Judas that he must perform the act of betrayal, for it is necessary to free Jesus' spirit from its material prison, the body, and to thwart the ignorant plans of the lower archons who seek to kill him. Judas is the only disciple who understands the terrible, necessary script. He becomes the catalyst for salvation by enacting the ultimate taboo. His kiss is not treachery, but the key. The suppression of these texts was not an accident of history. They were systematically hunted and destroyed because they decentralized authority. They claimed salvation came not from a church, a bishop, or a sacrament, but from a personal, interior awakening to a truth that rendered the world's ruler obsolete. They turned martyrdom from a testament to faith into an escape from the material prison. The emotional tone of these scriptures is not one of piety, but of frantic, urgent whispering in the dark, of passwords needed to navigate the afterlife and bypass the hostile archons who would recycle the soul back into another body. They are guidebooks for escaping a universe run by a God who does not know he is a subordinate. Their rediscovery forces a chilling question. Did the winners of theological history burn the most dangerous library of all? Let the stories settle. Feel their weight in the silence that follows. We pull back now, from the intimate whispers of secret gospels and the cosmic workshops of flawed gods, into the landscapes that hold these echoes. Imagine the moon over the Judean desert, casting long, deep blue shadows that seem to swallow whole valleys. The air is cold, carrying the scent of dry time and ancient stone. There is no sound but the wind sculpting the dunes, a patient, eternal sigh. This is the wilderness where rebels fled, where angels were said to have touched down, where jars of heresy were buried in desperate hope. Now a slow drift through a petrified forest, the trees turn to stone under a forgotten cataclysm, their branches like skeletal hands against a twilight sky streaked with violet and orange. Mist pools around their bases, glowing faintly with a cold, phosphorescent light. It is a place outside of time, a monument to a world that was, or perhaps, a world that was meant to be before the craftsman erred. Finally, the interior of a vast, abandoned library, not of Alexandria but of the mind. Stone shelves stretch into darkness, empty but for a thick layer of cosmic dust. A single shaft of starlight falls through a broken oculus in the ceiling, illuminating motes of dust that dance like forgotten ideas. The silence here is not empty. It is heavy with the presence of the texts that are missing, of the words that were scraped from parchment but left their ghostly indentations behind. In this atmospheric silence, the connections between our 5 forbidden myths begin to whisper to each other. Separately, these myths are powerful heresies. Together, they form a constellation of forbidden thought, a shadow canon with a terrifying internal logic. Look at the through line. It is a saga of rebellion against a prescribed, hierarchical order and the catastrophic, illuminating consequences that follow. Lilith rebels against the patriarchal order of Eden. The Watchers rebel against the celestial order of heaven. Humanity, in receiving stolen knowledge, rebels against its intended state of ignorant innocence. The Gnostic pneuma within us is a rebellious spark against the material order of the demiurge, and the Gnostic Christ encourages a final rebellion against the archonic rulers of this world. Each myth is an act of defiance against a creator, a ruler, or a law that is presented as absolute. The punishment for this defiance is universal: exile, flood, imprisonment, demonization, crucifixion. Yet within that punishment lies the myth's seductive power. The defiant act also brings a form of forbidden knowledge or autonomy. Lilith gains sovereign selfhood. Humanity gains science and art. The Gnostic gains the truth of their origin. The price is astronomical, but the prize is a truth that the established order cannot allow to be known. This reveals the core fear these myths were designed to suppress, and which they in turn expose. The fear that authority is illegitimate, that the parent is abusive, that the king is a usurper, that God is blind or jealous or false. To accept these myths is to accept that the universe is not a benevolent creation, but a crime scene, a prison, or a mistake. It is to trade the comfort of a loving father for the terrifying freedom of an orphan in a cold, magnificent, and deeply flawed cosmos. This is why they were forbidden, not because they are false, but because the truth they hint at is unmanageable. These myths did not die in the desert or in the fires of censorship. They went underground, mutating, feeding the dark soil of art, literature, and modern thought. They are the DNA of our most compelling monsters and our most profound alienations. Lilith evolved from a night hag into a powerful symbol in feminist theology and modern fantasy, the archetype of the autonomous woman unwilling to be subdued. The tragic, romantic fallen angel, bearing the burden of forbidden love or knowledge, is a direct descendant of the Watchers, from Milton's Lucifer to the brooding antiheroes of urban fantasy. The very concept of the antihero, who rebels against a corrupt or indifferent system, owes a debt to this shadow canon. The Gnostic suspicion of reality itself has infected the deepest veins of contemporary culture. It is the core of the Matrix, a world crafted by a blind machine intelligence where the true reality is hidden. It pulses in the cosmic horror of H.P. Lovecraft and Philip K. Dick's paranoid realities, where the world is a lie and the gods are mad or malicious. It fuels cyberpunk's distrust of corporate archons and simulation theory's philosophical dread. Even in psychology, the concept of the alien self, or the feeling of being a stranger in one's own life, echoes the Gnostic sense of the pneuma trapped in foreign flesh. These myths survive because they name a deep modern anxiety that the systems we live under, religious, political, social, even material, are not divinely ordained truths, but contingent, perhaps flawed constructions. They give form to the whispered doubt that the jailer is still watching, and that the key was hidden in a story they told us was a lie. So what do these forbidden maps of heaven and hell ultimately reveal? They are not about gods or angels, but about us. They are profound, externalized narratives of the human psyche confronting the terror of its own existence. The fear of a flawed creator is the fear of our own flawed parentage and mortality. The rage against a jealous God is the rebellion of the adolescent mind against arbitrary authority. The longing for secret knowledge is the desperate hope that there is a cheat code to escape suffering. These myths were censored and hidden not because they were necessarily false, but because they were dangerously empowering. They transfer the locus of sacredness from external institutions and prescribed scriptures to the individual's inner experience and understanding. They suggest that divinity, or its spark, is within, not above, that salvation is through awareness, not obedience, that the true sin is not questioning but blind acceptance. They expose the machinery of control inherent in any orthodoxy, to define good and evil, to name the sacred and the profane, to claim sole authority over the path to salvation. The forbidden myth, by its very existence, breaks that monopoly. It says there is another path, a darker, more dangerous, but perhaps more authentic one. It admits the chaos, the doubt, the cosmic loneliness, and the glorious, terrifying responsibility of being truly awake in a universe that may have been dreamed by a sleeping or blind God. To contemplate them is to stand at the edge of the abyss, not of hell, but of absolute theological freedom, and to feel its vertigo. Somewhere, a desert wind still scours the entrance to a hidden cave. A fragment of parchment, inscribed with letters of silver and shadow, waits for a hand that is not afraid to lift it. The watchers, bound in eternal darkness, still dream of the daughters of men and the taste of earthly wine. The blind craftsman in his lonely throne room of stars continues his work, unaware of the sparks of true light struggling within his creation. And perhaps in the quietest hour of your night you might feel it, a faint, discordant hum behind the reality you take for granted, a sense that the story you've been told is a palimpsest, and beneath its official text, older, wilder words are bleeding through. This is their legacy. Not answers, but a deeper, more resonant set of questions. Not comfort, but a sublime and dreadful curiosity. They were forbidden. They were hidden. They were cast out, but they were never destroyed. They are the myths that wait in the margins, in the cracks between worlds, in the forgotten libraries of the human soul. They remind us that sometimes the most important truth is not the one proclaimed from the altar, but the one whispered in the dark, passed from exile to exile, waiting for the courage to be heard. Another legend fades, but the next awaits. Like this video, subscribe and continue the journey through myths.